Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, June 8th, and we are live streaming Hearthstone, trying to get all the news done. Tomorrow is the start of the E3 stream, so I need to get all the news done and prepare for that. I can't trade out this 60, so I have to apparently win 3 Tavern Brawls and then win a game with a Paladin Warrior, which almost certainly, if I play the Tavern Brawls, I can do. We're on the European account right now. We got the daily quest done pretty quickly.
5, 4, 3, ignition sequence start.
Alright, so what is this audio from? I don't know what is playing the audio. It's not from Chrome. I think I need to uninstall that Hearth Arena app. I think that is what is loading up and showing ads. I haven't used that Hearth Arena app in a long time anyways. So, like, I have updated the base app that our Hearth Arena uses, which is called Overwolf, more times than I've actually used it. So, in the middle, I'm just going to uninstall everything called Overwolf. There we go. Might as well take the most expensive in this Tavern Brawl, by the way, because the price is randomized. So hopefully that will stop that audio from playing. Why it's playing at all, I don't know. I don't have Overwolf or Hearth Arena opened. The only other thing I could assume is maybe it's Hearthstone Deck Tracker. Mahmood just opened a legendary. Mahmood also just got his doctorate. Like, he's a PhD, MD. I don't know if he's actually a PhD, but he's a medical doctor. He passed his exams and told me last stream. That's really cool as a streamer to know somebody who was working to become an MD, and I'm still streaming by the time he actually succeeds in it. Although I don't think he has been watching for as long as he's been in his MD program. But maybe he has. Then. So yeah, that's one. And then adapt to friendly minion. And do I want to give it +1/+1? No, let's give it Divine Shield. And then end the turn. Moving on, I have a ton of news. TechRaptor has an article. Wargroove reveals the last 3 commanders, including one very good boy. So Wargroove is the name of the game. It's an upcoming turn-based strategy game from Chucklefish. And apparently play as commanders. One of them is a dog in armor. Like, there's not enough pictures in this article and too many words not saying anything useful as far as Wargroove. We'll hear more about Wargroove later, I'm almost certain. Silverhand recruits +1/+1. Choose the minion, destroy it, man. I'll take that. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Big 3, and apparently the Big 3 is a twin-stick shooter Diablo, where you're playing as Well, you're apparently hoping to catch the big three, or you're playing as the big three, one of which is Roosevelt, one of which seems to be Hitler, one of which seems to be Stalin, and normally these would be troll games. They certainly are controversial games and trying to sell on controversy. But this one has enough polish on it to look like it actually is a game. Let's see. It could be actually that it's Roosevelt, Stalin, and Churchill working together to catch Hitler, I think is the thing, and maybe some other bad guys. In a weird way, you almost get down to the point of, is this a almost educational historical parody? Like, that there is an argument to make historical parodies that would educate, or at least continue to remind people of their history. Now the problem, as I'm desperately looking for reasons to ignore this game, The Big Three, is it's $7.64 with 15% off. It's a top-down twin-stick shooter, could be extremely short. It has like 8 positive reviews, which is not enough to mean anything. It is in English and simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese, which makes me feel like it is a cheap Chinese game. Even though it doesn't look like it, it looks alright. It's not great in the graphics. In fact, it might just be some asset flips in general in the actual game. It's tagged as an RPG, and I don't see how this could be really much of an RPG. And it's from a developer who's self-publishing, who's made nothing else. And so the ask on the price is too much. Inherently, in a weird way, I kind of want to see a... I'd like to see the bigger developers, like AAA developers, cover a topic like that in a comedy parody way, so I know they have some credibility and they're not just making a short troll game. And then I'd be interested in a little bit, in playing that a little bit more. If the creator of The Binding of Isaac did a game like that, I would trust him a little bit. And he's not a AAA developer, he's an indie developer, but he's got The Binding of Isaac behind him to tell me, oh, he may do a weird game, but he's going to do a good game. There's really no trust that I have for the developer Big Three. See, we have Mahmood came on the chat. He says, "Hi Rydo, I lost my gold in the game. Do you think it is because I'm not to be online for 8 months?" I don't see any reason why you would have lost any gold in the game just because you hadn't logged in for 8 months. I've never heard that be the case. I would change your password, see if somebody maybe went into your game and spent your gold, or like, gold can't be transferred in any way that I know of. So it is also possible you just kind of forgot or are misremembering. But let's try Warrior this time. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you would lose your gold. I mean, you can't give it to anybody. I guess the good news is you can buy that new bundle and get some more card packs for pretty cheap. Although right now is the worst time for Blizzard to be offering that bundle. And frankly, we've hit a new point here. Ben Brode, the guy who was in charge, the main figurehead at least, of Hearthstone, left. And it's only been maybe a month, maybe two since he left, and already a major new development in Hearthstone has happened. Ironically, it is the next article here, where they implemented a change in Hearthstone, and people did not like it at all, which isn't inherently new, but then they also backpedaled, which definitely is new. And that's one of the things I didn't want to ever see in Hearthstone, is them the creators of Magic the Gathering in general have been accused of being wishy-washy and pandering to the crowd and not satisfying the audience or trying too hard to satisfy the audience or not satisfying the audiences. In a weird way, you can make both arguments. You can sometimes complain because a developer is not listening to its audience, and you can sometimes complain because they are listening to the audience. Inherently, I think for a video game, they just have to do what they think is right and stick to it and be consistent. In the United States, you never apologize. You never change your opinion on anything. It just never benefits you at all. And even if you think you should apologize, you still don't apologize because the truth is you'll never stop apologizing and it'll never be enough. Job's done. Anyways, so they came out on Hearthstone's blog, and they have a article update 11.2 test Greymane and HCT Seoul. That's Seoul, South Korea, right? Someone commented of your damage.
Battle commencing.
Rush the enemy! Attack!
Let's see if I can just survive. Next turn. It says, greetings, thanks to you all for all your feedback regarding the recent update 11.2. We apologize for not offering notice in advance of these changes before they went live. We understand that this wasn't a good experience and that this also had an impact on some of our esports competitors, and Hearthstone is certainly obsessed with its esports element. Let's see. Can I do something here? Do this and
Attack!
do this and then do this.
Attack!
I could have attacked. This wasn't an acceptable situation all around, and we'll do better in the future. Next paragraph. Update 11.2 brought with it some changes as part of our ongoing overall goal to make the card interactions more intuitive across the board. The intention of some of the changes was to align 4 similar cards: Test Greymane, Linus, Shudderwalk, and Yogg-Saron. If you're familiar with the way these minions work, you should be able to guess how the others work. We added a cap to the maximum number of effects that can be generated by these battle cries, and made Tessa's battle cry, and if she was destroyed, silenced, or otherwise removed, just like the others, Yogg Soren. So I'm not sure what Tess Grayman's ability is. That really goes to show how much attention I spend on Hearthstone stuff. But she's like the other cards now, where if she gets silenced, destroyed, or otherwise removed, she stops doing her battle cry. After hearing your feedback to that change, we initially considered offering a full Arcane Dusk refund for Tess. We also read feedback from players who used Tess in their decks, asking her to be reverted to her old functionality. In this case, we agree that it's worthwhile to sacrifice some consistency so Tess is more fun to play, especially since our priority wasn't to decrease Tess's power level. With that in mind, instead of offering Arcane Dust refund and encouraging players to disenchant the card, we're reverting one of the changes to Tess Grayman so that the battle cry will continue even if she's destroyed, silenced, or otherwise removed. Frankly, I think a battle cry in general, if you just think about it, would be some kind of spell in canon that would have been cast and that would just continue to enact. It seems like what they need to do is they need to create a new keyword like chant that would just consistently require the character to be alive and chanting to equate to a well, that didn't work. To continue to work. This situation also has raised discussions regarding the definition of the card fixes versus a dust refunding nerf. So we thought we would be, this would be a good time to talk about our stance on the subject. We will continue to provide full Arcane Dust refunds for changes to cards that decrease the overall power level for balance purposes, in other words, card nerfs, which seems like what they're saying is they won't give you arcane things when cards are changed slightly, but they don't consider them nerfs, which I don't think I really agree with. I think that's a bad system. We're working to improve Hearthstone and make the underlying mechanics more intuitive. Bug fixes and system-wide mechanic changes to improve the game will not be grounds for a full Arcane Dust refund on a card. System-wide mechanical updates affect many different cards in ways that could make some more or less powerful, such as the interaction between Jungle Giants and Faceless Manipulator. And so, yeah, they're saying we're not going to give people dust anymore, which inherently, this really just sounds like Hearthstone's going to get worse and worse, and it's been getting worse and worse this whole time, and now it's going to get really even worse. It's like, I really think I could run Hearthstone better than what they've been doing when Ben Brode was in charge, or what they're doing now. I think it's pretty easy. Just add more cards. That's all you gotta do. Don't even care about power level, or balance, or rank, or esports. Just add freaking cards. Add fun mechanics, add crazy and wild mechanics, and let people play. Because they are so focused on the metagame, so focused on esports, that they're only serving those people, and at the expense of not serving a regular player, like me, like who is stuck at rank 20 or rank 19 at best. Like, I'm not getting served here, nor do I even care about nerfs to Tess Grayman, because I bet I don't even have her.
I live to serve the Lich King.
Let's see. This one will die. Oh man, I played that out of the water.
For the Dragon Queen.
Let's see. Next paragraph says, Linus Sunstar was never intended to apply her buffs in the order they were cast. So, the update to her functionality in 11.02 was a bug fix for that card. The cap of 30 effects is a system-wide change intended to protect the service and players from potentially bad play experiences that have minimal player value. We're planning to raise the cap of Shudderwock's Battlecry from 20 to 30 when we implement the fix that reverts tests as well. We're currently planning to revert the changes that cause Test Gramming to stop calling a Battlecry when destroyed, silenced or otherwise, on June 8th Pacific Daylight Time. There's no actual time there. The rest of this is talking about HCT Soul and Quest Druid. So let's read the first paragraph there and see if there's anything I need to read here. We'd also like to take a moment to apologize to our players and community for the update's impact on the HTC Tour stop taking place in Seoul this weekend, specifically the 15 players who brought Quest Druid decks. After considering recent feedback and significant discussion, we felt that Quest Druid decks were most directly affected in terms of viability as a result of the changes that were introduced. As such, we allowed the players that brought Quest Druid an opportunity to resubmit their decks. Balancing the health of the game with the needs and calendar of an esports, global esport like the Hearthstone Championship Tour is always challenging. This was an acceptable situation all around for us and our players and our competitors, and we'll do better in the future. Sure you will. You better do better. That's a really long coverage of the Hearthstone issue as it continues to be an issue. Let's see. Play this and play this and attack here and attack. Moving on to the next article. PC Gamer has an article, The Worst Marketing Misfires and PR Moves in PC Gaming, and a pair of console flubs too. This is another one of these pre-E3 articles where I think I'll try and read this. I may even read it as I'm streaming tomorrow, just to myself, but I certainly don't have time to cover it right now. We've got a game on Steam called Crystal the Adventurer, Krystal. In a weird way, Crystal was the name of the blue character in Star Fox Adventures, and it was spelled that way, and this Crystal is a red fox, which that just doesn't seem like that would be the right color for somebody named Crystal.
Job's done.
Let's see. Anyways, this game doesn't even have a full screen mode, to the point where the screenshots aren't even cropped, so you're seeing the Windows Explorer bar. This is a like high school, college, early college level of programming. The graphics and maybe the interface even look a little smooth, but they want $4.99 on this for MS Paint quality graphics. It seemed like in the trailer though that the running and jumping might have been moving pretty smoothly. Seems like it probably is a little bit slidey.
What now?
And this is the only game from this developer. They're asking way too much. This is not the level of quality that I think you should try to sell on Steam. Inherently, I guess I need to now phrase myself differently, since Steam has said that they will allow anything on Steam to editorialize and only say, my personal opinion is this game shouldn't be on Steam. Not to say, not to confuse it with the thought of me advocating actually censoring a game off Steam. It is definitely worth mentioning that the Discovery 2.0 still seems to work perfectly fine. I don't see new games that are garbage on Valve's main page ever. I should have attacked first, that would have been smart. Tech Raptor has an article, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is heading to consoles this summer. That it will be the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. It seems without like the PlayStation VR, you're probably losing something with the VR element. I think also when you think about how Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is supposed to work with a second player having instructions and going through a manual and telling you what to do, that's less likely to happen on consoles. So yeah, I don't know how many people are going to actually play the game. I bet a bunch of people buy it. There are also people who have memorized all the solutions to all the puzzles and can just like speed run the game, but that's not a normal player. Playing this with a Joy-Cons would be a bit of a nightmare. Playing it with an Xbox One or a PS4 controller would probably be fine, although it frankly is definitely a game designed for a mouse, because clicking those little wires and clicking buttons and holding down buttons and just doing everything you're supposed to do is going to be more difficult and probably less varied in the console version. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes was a very big meme game that streamers were playing for a while, but it's certainly died out now. Let's see. We don't need to talk about that because we already talked about it. Let's see. I don't have anything to say new about that, so we can close that tab. I am still dealing with both the calendar that I'm trying to get to work to actually set off notifications. The thing is, I'm using if then that, and like there's really no programming language that's being explained, so I can have it set an alarm at the time that something's going off, but by that point the alarm would already been passed, and so anybody's notifications or alarms that would have set off won't go off, whether you're trying to get it to a calendar like on your phone for an Android phone or even an iPhone. So I'm still trying to figure out some way to take the time that the video came out and then set a notification for like 15 minutes after that point so that an alarm would go off. So PC Gamer, we talked about this a little bit, and I said I didn't want to ran it into it too much, but PC Gamer is one of the weirder sites, because yes, I know it's probably a little bit SJW-y, but it's at least somewhat trying to be professional and just report the news. Unlike many other sites like Polygon, where they literally were just attacking Steam for having an anti-censorship stance, which has frankly been their stance before. They're just expanding it to not include. One assumes that we really never got a response as far as whether they'd let straight up pornography on there. But I think you're probably going to get that response rather quickly, because Lust for Darkness is coming out in like a couple of weeks. So their articles phrase the game industry reacts to Valve's diversive Steam store curation policy. Quote, I choose to leave stuff I consider hateful and horrible on the table. I don't want Steam to make that decision for me. Now, it is divisive only in the fact that there is a bunch of pro-censorship people that shouldn't have a voice in the game industry at all, or the game journalism industry. I mean, it really is cutting off your nose to spite your face, because as a reporter, if games are getting censored, you have less to report about, or less that is happy news to report about, at least. So as a reporter who theoretically wants freedom of speech and press, you also have to want that for the creators of the games. Let's see. VGA 24/7 said, quote, that quotes somebody that says, as a creator, she wants to use, I guess, the full range of the human experience. Quote, I choose to leave stuff I consider hateful and horrible on the table. I don't want Steam to make that decision. Says Tyler Romero, I believe, to VGA 27. So he was one of the people that's like, yay, that's a good move. That's something I want to as a creator be able to let's play Druid. Let's see. Here's a quote. In the history of games, some of the most important works have been deemed highly offensive by broad swaths of the world. Games like GTA, Wolfenstein, Doom, Mortal Kombat, Bully, which apparently had a same-sex kiss, God of War, which had sex in it, and Sims that didn't allow same-sex characters to be comical in earlier versions. So there's a lot to mention there. Here's another quote. To me, it comes down to this. I may not like your game, but I support your right to make it. Since Valve controls a huge percentage of the gaming ecosystem. All these quotes, by the way, I'm misquoting little words. So, sorry, I'm trying to quote them correctly, but I'm not doing a good job with it. These are non-trivial decisions. Let's see. Let's see. There's a indie game developer called Robert Yang who had a work based on the intersection of art, video games, and gay subculture has been banned on Twitch for sexual content. Suggests so-called good moderation is difficult, but the prospect of zero inhibition risks giving hate mobs its game artists de facto control. Well, I think Valve has figured a way to not have that be the case. Let's see. Because already trolls and hate mobs have tried to put games on Steam, and frankly, it takes more effort to make a game than it does to put a post somewhere or make a YouTube video. Let's see. Yang also says that Valve is one of the few companies in the world that can literally hire 200 people to work on moderating its storefront, and thus should be doing more to prevent creators from being intimidated off the platform. There's a lot of BS going on, certainly, where game creators are going, I'm being harassed, I'm being intimidated. Look, you're a big boy. Or a big girl if you're making a game. You have to be an adult, and you don't think Tide doesn't get hate letters? You don't think trolls don't go after Coca-Cola? You're putting yourself out there. That means you're going to get people that like your product, and that means you're going to get people that hate your product, and that means you're going to get people that hate and like your product for reasons that aren't particularly what you would consider legitimate. If you want to sell your product, you're going to have to put yourself out there, and you're going to have to be an adult and deal with adults that you don't particularly want to deal with. That's just the real world. If you want to be babied and live in a safe space, then you can't go to Steam. Steam's not going to be your safe space.
Come dance to my song.
And the rest of the world isn't also probably going to be a safe space. It's real immature. By the way, I'm pretty sure this Robert Yang guy, I think his games were the what was the name of that series that he made? I think they were the kind of really bad gay games that felt like they were just gay exploitation. I guess maybe I could do a little research here and see if I can search his name, and let's see. Robert Yang, what did he make? The Radiator series? Yeah, I'm wondering if he made that series. Because those were awful. Awful looking as a game. And awful. Yeah, he made the Radiator series. Awful as just this weird thing. Weird gay exploitation thing. And he says he's like, I don't know if I really believe him saying he's a professor. Because he comes off much more as a troll. So I don't see how he can complain when I think probably every criticism of his games are probably valid criticisms of bad products.
Another night on the prowl. Welcome to the Grand Tournament, champion. Let's dance.
Let's keep on playing. Yeah, so yeah, Robert Wang. And then Bennett Foddery, the creator of QWOP, I didn't know he made QWOP, and Getting Over It, is on the other hand concerned about the implications of allowing corporations like Valve to become the enforcer of moral principles. Foddy reckons that giving distributors gatekeeping powers has the scope to encourage bad decisions making on their part. Oh yeah, I know a company called YouTube that does that all the time, and boy has it not worked out at all. Apparently there was a whole argument between Robert Yang, who frankly, just on the quality of his work, I don't give any credibility to, and Bennett Foddy. Let's see. Naomi Clark of the NYU Gaming Center bills the overarching censorship discord as low grade. She questions Valve's suggestion that it's ethically bound to sell every legal product without curation, something which in turn can impinge on transparency. This is more of an argument against monopolies, right? It's inevitably a privatized dictatorship unless you forcibly change that, says Clark. if we're inevitably going to have to yell angrily at something, an acknowledged process with transparency is preferable. Interesting argument, certainly, to say maybe we need more places on top of Valve, but for video games, that doesn't really work well. Unless there was kind of like a government mandated API where you could buy a game on one service like Good Old Games, and then Steam had to give you a copy or register that license to the same game on its store, which wouldn't be a terrible idea.
I must protect the wild.
This may point out that transparency of policy is a real issue, but part of what I read in Steam's blog is a not uncharacteristic insistence that there isn't going to be a policy to discuss, just use our automated filter system. But I think she is, in that sentence, also arguing that the policy for Valve running its own company, and arguably Valve knows how to run Steam very well, should be some kind of democracy. And frankly, businesses and democracy don't work well together. So that's another issue to consider. Is, yeah, this we can't have Valve become a democracy. If anything, I would argue Valve is already too much of a democracy inside of its corporations, because it would have been a lot easier for Gabe Newell to say, "I'm the boss, we're not censoring anything, and that's it. Said and done. If you want to hate somebody, hate me. If you want to disagree with somebody, disagree with me. It was my decision and my decision alone." That's where a good boss would have come in and been very, very helpful.
My will is not my own.
Let's see.
One for the boss, two for me.
Let's see. We can double up with some extra empty mana crystals.
Job's done.
The next paragraph on this very long article. To this end, as games critic Jim Sterling, he's not a game critic anymore. He's said it directly himself. He's not a video game journalist or games critic, and frankly, he's more obsessed about talking about how he has depression, he's suffering from addiction, he's being a wrestler. Jim Sterling is a poop lord, is what he is. And he immediately found a game called AIDS Simulator that was scheduled to come out next week, which every single freaking week there's some game that is in the process, and I do agree that Valve should probably hide new games that are coming out until they've been looked at somebody else, because it is too easy for these troll people to have a game on schedule, but these games never come out, or if they do come out, they're missed and forgotten, and the only person that gives them even the tiniest bit of light of day is people like Jim Sterling, who's seeking them out. So there's a game called AIDS Simulator. What's funny is that Dragon Cancer is a cancer simulator, so done right, I'm not opposed to playing a game that's an AIDS simulator. Despite Valve's deference to filters and algorithms, this is but one problematic example of an unmoderated Steam now faces these days, months, and years to come. It really isn't a problem, because that game hasn't come out on Steam yet. And guess what? It's not going to. It's already been kicked off as a troll game. Let's see, do I need to talk about Nutaku's new games?
You have been.
Tits and Tanks. No, not really. They've got a new game. I'm not getting paid to promote Nutaku. I don't see a reason for me to to discuss that game. Nutaku is its own little thing. You love it or leave it. If you want to play some very generic sex games, then Nutaku might be for you. I'm gonna try Murloc Paladin here and see if we can get up and ranked. Unfortunately, my articles are a little bit out of order, so we'll get back into Steam later, but that was a long article, so now is a good time to break up that conversation. Anyways, we have a game on Steam called Soda Girls, which is an interesting concept. It feels like there might be a different type of girl for different types of sodas. And it says it's a action indie adventure RPG comic book. It's, to me, looks like a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, like Streets of Rage. It also has some big bosses. It seems like different characters have different types of weapons and attacks. The graphics are pretty good. I don't know if the soda is any kind of power up or anything. That you pick up, or if it is just that these characters. It does seem like this game has a lot of unlocks in it, which might be an issue. It seems like you even upgrade your enemies in kind of a roguelite game element, so you make the enemy stronger to get more money. It's showing me a lot of screenshots of things that don't make sense, but I do like the screenshots I'm seeing. Alright, single player, 25 Steam achievements, 10% off for $8.99. I like the art style. I like the idea of personification of sodas. That's kind of a Japanese thing, but this isn't a Japanese game. Let's see what the not recommended reviews. We have 166 to 23 negative reviews. One not recommended says it looks nice in game with all the neato flashy stuff that pops up when you hit enemies, but I can see how the combos can get really boring to people really fast. This guy played 21 hours, by the way. The menus in the game are not really much to look at, but they work. I don't know, maybe if it's on discount there are probably better options of gameplay, but it's pretty unique visually. Next not recommended says developers abandoned the game. The combat gets very repetitive and crappy, as you can only have one combo. I'm not even sure if that's the truth, because to me it looks like you buy more combos. I kind of like the game, but it seems to have been abandoned for almost a year. It's around 80% and you can get to the end of the game, but it's definitely missing some parts. This was May 2nd, that was March. Let's see. February says a lot of smoke and mirrors. I got it on sale for $3.99. Then it says, well, this game is abandoned. A lot of people saying it's abandoned. Here's the thing though. I don't think it's abandoned. This says it came out June 7th. So they must have updated it in some way. And there's no note or reference here. It's a risky pick, certainly. First game from this developer. And I'm pretty sure I don't want to pay $8.09 for it, even with it being 10% off. But I kind of want to keep an eye on this. The only thing the negative reviews and the fact that it's a Chinese game, I just inherently have gotten to the point where I look down on anything that supports English, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. But I'm gonna keep an eye on this one and put it on my wish list. This is one of those games that I might get burned out with and play. Moving on, we have another game called Alex Dash, A-L-E-X-S space D-A-S-H. Graphics look alright. It kind of looks like a student project in programming. It's just a kind of infinite runner, jumping and platforming with 3D, 2.5D physics. It seems like all you're doing is running and trying to collect gems. It doesn't seem like the game does anything else. This is a $2.99 game, which is not really worth it. Yeah. This feels more like a demo than a finished product.
Let me think.
Let's see. Play this. End the turn. Yep, so let's close that game. I'm not getting through news very fast. PC Gamer has an article. The BattleTech developer resigns following multiple accusations of sexual harassment. Tyler Carpenter, who also worked on Shadowrun Hong Kong and Shadow of Mordor, admitted that everything is true. That's the exact quote. Is everything is true. Alright, well, either you have quote-minded this person to a horribly unethical quote mine or misquote. So he's falling on his sword, but he says HBS, which I imagine is harebrained schemes. Let's see. Harebrained Schemes, or HBS, had no idea of any of this happening. Because of that, and for the good of HBS and my victims, I've resigned from HBS effective and immediately. There doesn't need to be an inquiry because, frankly, everything is true. I guess you can't quote mine that, can you?
Your magic shall not save you.
Well, if a person is unwilling to defend themselves or offer any kind of explanation, then I guess we take him at his word and say everything he said is true. There is probably a slight danger to oneself to say that if you are saying everything is true, there might be some random claims that aren't true that you're not even aware of. But it seems like this guy knew he was in the wrong, knew he was doing sexual harassing people and acting immature and unprofessional, and I guess maybe that is just the best way to deal with something now that people are seeing you can't get away with it because of the Me Too movement. People are coming clean and admitting things before they're caught. Like, moving on, I guess. PC Gamer has an article. Brilliant executives launch a tech startup called XCOM. So Qualcomm in San Diego. Qualcomm is a San Diego-based company specializing in telecom communication equipment. As LA Times reports, 3 of Qualcomm's top executives recently left to start their own tech company, also based in San Diego, and they're calling it XCOM, not EXCOM, but XCOM, as in the game XCOM. I don't know why you would call it XCOM for like extreme com. Let's see. And XCOM, their new company, will specialize in investing in inventing wireless technologies to propel the next mobile revolution. They will also be spending a lot of their efforts, I'm sure, trying to keep the name or find a new name, because that's just like a terrible pick. I get the whole idea. My name is Rydo, R-Y-D-O. Every time I try to go to a new service and log in and use that as my login, I get told either that name is too short or it's already been taken, even for new services. So often I have to use my Rydo of all, R-Y-D-O-O-F-A-L-L, usually with no spaces or underscores or anything. So I get the idea. You want a short name, something people can remember, but in the modern day where everybody has already used every combination of the English language, you really have to think of a bigger, better company, a bigger, better name for your company. And people are less likely to do like you used to do, which was just use the last names of the people in charge of the businesses, because the people in charge of the businesses don't matter anymore, and the corporations themselves are now the people, or at least that's the lie they tell, and so the CEOs, the CFOs, the founders of the company can easily be kicked out and at the whim of the greediest of the greedy people on the planet, aka the shareholders of any corporation. Next game we have on Steam is called Destiny of the Wizard 2 Beyond the Veil. It's an RPG Maker game. It's 15% off for a massive $11.04. My stance on RPG Maker games still stands. They all generally come from the beginning thought of making a low quality product, eat cheaply and easily, instead of starting from having a good idea or the desire to make something quality. Let's see, PC Gamer had this article, the new PC games of 2018. I think I already read this article and it just has been updated. It's like a long list of all the games that are coming out in 2018, so I'm going to close that. We have a asteroid-ish game, bullet hell shooter type game called Time Tekker. It says it's an action indie time manipulation female protagonist. It kind of looks like you're playing as a green version of Samus Aran, but the majority of it is you're just playing asteroids with aliens shooting you. The graphics look better than what I've seen on some of these asteroid games in the past, but not by much. Should have put that over there. Always placing things in the wrong place. This game is 99 cents. Somebody's trying here. Somebody's trying to make a good game, but has like 6 positive reviews. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything here that makes this look like something I want to play. Asteroids as a game, while groundbreaking, is also frankly just an annoying game. It's not something that I would really expect people to want to play. So I'm closing Time Tekker. And see, we need to go probably about 30 minutes over an hour, or I need to break up into 4 episodes, because I'm not even sure if last stream I broke up into 3 episodes. And we are done right now, so there's probably be a last game, and let's just keep on breaking things up. PC Gamer has a review of Yoku's Island Express. They gave it an 85. It's a new AA game, I would call it. Seems like everybody's liking it. It's PC Gamer says it's a blend of mismatched genres that somehow works. Yoko's Island is a beguiling game of modest brilliance. And the two genres are kind of a adventure platforming game and pinball. It's a game I'm pretty sure is already on my wish list.
Reporting for duty.
Kill this one. And kill this one.
For justice.
Attack here. Turn. Gamma Sutra has an article, weekly jobs around out. Telltale Games, Disbelief and more are hiring. So the Insomniac Games is looking for a director of design in Burbank, California. Outfit 7 is looking for a data scientist in Ljubljana, Slovenia. I think we already talked about that. Disbelief is looking for a junior programmer in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And Telltale Games is looking for a character modeler in San Rafael, California. So if any of those jobs sound interesting and you think you can apply to them, go ahead and try. I mean, frankly, even if you think you shouldn't apply to them, go ahead and try. Well, worst case scenario, they're going to say no. Inherently, I think there probably is a level where you shouldn't apply to a company if you worked as a janitor and you want to be the senior game designer. That's just going to waste people's time and maybe get you on a blacklist. So, only apply if you actually believe you have a chance, I would say. PC Gamer has an article, the new Gundam Breaker is delayed on PC. It's coming to PC, which is good, but not for a while. So, it was announced to come out. Let's see. Do we have a time? They announced a June 22nd date for the PS4 version, but it seems like the PC version is pushed back to summer. The thing about Gundam Breaker, if I'm recalling correctly, this is the Gundam game where you... No, this... I don't think this is that game. Oh, yes it is. This is a game where you make Gundam model kits, garage kits, and you paint them and maybe you don't paint them, but you modify them in some way, and then you fight the toy garage kits in the real world. So they're just little 4 or 5 inch toys, maybe 7, maybe 10 inch toys on the ground, and they fight each other. And like some of the settings are the toy store, so you see boxes of other garage kits in the background. And that seems like that was an interesting way to go about doing it. But better they delay and get the game finished than the standard response for Japanese games, which is to just release a crappy PC version and never fix it and never patch it. I'm much happier with an announced delay with the implied intention to do a good release. Let's see, we have a game on Steam called Comet Striker, one word. It's another... it looks like it's a pixely graphics, sort of bullet hell shooter. You seem to be floating around. Yeah, I guess inherently it is like a boss bullet hell shooter game more than anything else. 10% off for $8.99. I'm pretty sure I've seen a game like this come out pretty recently, but I'm not sure it's this game. It kind of feels like this might be a knockoff of that game. My stance on bullet hell shooters is still I don't like to play them. They make my hands hurt, and for that reason I will try and... Oops, I should have played that first. Should have waited till I drawed everything. I drew everything. Yep. And see. Comet Striker is also promoting this other game that they made called Mute Crimson Plus, which some kind of
Now how about
pixel graphics 2D, looks like a bullet hell platformer shooter. It looks like more of a platformer than a bullet hell game, actually. Neither one of those games look interesting enough for me to put on my wish list though. I need to learn the phrase wish list instead of just put on the wish list. Next game we have is on Steam is called Lands of Lost. It's a cheap, low quality asset flip game. The graphics look horrible, the interface looks horrible. It's selling for 40% off for $2.99. Don't really need to say anything more about it. The idea of using the phrase Lands of the Lost or Land of the Lost for a game is not a terribly bad phrase, but it does bring back memories of a pretty bad TV show called Land of the Lost, which that doesn't really help anything. Let's see, how are we? Like, we've got all the quests done, so I need to probably just move on to the Americas account, and if I'm going to grind on any account, I probably should grind on my main account and try to get up higher on that than the European or Asian account. So, to wrap up the rant I had as we're wrapping up here, PC Gamer has an article, AIDS Simulator and other games removed from Steam. Valve clarifies its trolling policy. 5 games from the developer called Bunch OD00DZ or Bunch O Dudes have been taken down. Just a day after Valve announced its new Anything Goes policy from Steam, simplistically, as long as the game is not illegal or trolling, it will be allowed. It has removed AIDS Simulator, ISIS Simulator, Suicide Simulator, Asset Flip Simulator, and Triggering Simulator, which I'm pretty sure I've saw at least 2 or 3 of these games watching what's on Steam, but made no mention of them. I see games like this scheduled and they just and they don't even come out usually. Let's see, these games were all added to Steam prior to the announcement. Suicide Simulator and ISIS Simulator were actually added in September 2017 in case there was any doubt about Valve's existing approval system were useless, so now PC Gamer's editorializing me. Truth is, nobody saw these until Jim Sterling went and tried to find them. So, yeah, I agree that Valve could probably pay me to look at every game that gets applied to, and I could flag things as trolling for them. And they probably should pay somebody to look at every game, whether it's me or somebody else. But this really isn't. This is a non-controversy, frankly. This is Valve doing exactly what it should do when getting rid of troll games, because of that. Nobody is legitimately going to say Bunch of Dudes wasn't a troll. Nobody's going to look at those games. AIDS Simulator, for example, here is just a asset flip of a first-person shooter. The name has nothing to do with the game. And inherently that's what makes it a troll more than anything else. So it's kind of a double speak, frankly. It's a double standard. A lot of the mainstream video game media were upset that Valve wouldn't censor, and then they immediately find examples of troll games that Valve removed, and they're still snarkily or rudely going, well, look, they are censoring after they said they wouldn't censor. And it's like, no, that's what Valve said in the first place, is that troll games were the line. Illegal and troll games. The bigger concern I have is illegal, because frankly, if Valve starts applying the laws against hate speech in certain countries to the entire world, a significant number of games will become illegal. If somebody like the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia's laws are applied to all the games that are on Steam, there's probably not going to be any more anime booby games at all. So illegal is a very localized thing. It's the reason we don't have a single one world government is because local laws vary drastically across the planet, and we've really made no progress to thinking the same way or agreeing on the same laws. But I did want to wrap up that story before I wrapped up this recording and move on to the Americas account. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.